Hello and welcome to the Save the Punter Betting Show, the programme where we do the research for you so you don't have to. Every week we preview the biggest English football games and advise you of where we think there's value to be had to make your sports betting life a little easier. Pete, welcome back to the podcast after a few weeks out. How are you?
Yeah, good. Good to be back. Cheers.
Have you been keeping up with game after game after game?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get too excited about a lot of the games, but you're just sort of there while they're on, I suppose. A lot of them are a bit slow tempo, aren't they? But there's a few good games. Just watch Leeds and Villa. That's what I do.
That your game of the week?
No, I mean, those two teams, they normally have good games. Leeds games always are fun, and Villa are quite good as well. But some of the other games, they can be a bit dull.
Ash, if you were to choose two teams that you definitely want to watch out of the Premier League, who would they be? Pete's gone for Villa and Leeds.
I mean, the most exciting game I've watched all season was Sheffield United West Brom, but that was because of betting reasons. So I'll go with that one. Yeah, I'd watch Sheffield United West Brom again.
I get the feeling that
It was actually a good game.
It was.
I get the feeling Pete watches football to enjoy it, and Ash, you watch football to follow your bets.
Yeah, do you know what? I've kind of lost a lot of interest in football recently. I just think it's this whole lockdown and COVID. It's taken something away from it from me. So I watch it, but I'm more interested in the data side of it right now, to be honest, as opposed to. I mean, if Parris were good and entertaining, yeah, great. But our season's over now. We're at 30 points. Yeah, we're a foot off the gas, go and sit on the beach. Right?
No, that's a good point, because if it wasn't for like the bets and the fantasy that I do, I would watch way less football. So it does keep you sort of watching stuff just to see what's going on. And yeah.
I almost feel guilty if I miss kickoff of a game, even if it's like a 6 o'clock, mid-table game. At 5 o'clock, I'm waiting for the team news to see which players are playing out of position. So is there an angle on the shots they have, or more likely to get a booking, or, first goal scorer. For example, Ben Johnson, when we had that 25-1 winner, he wasn't expected to start. It looked like he was going to start as a very advanced fullback or a wing back or even as a genuine wide midfielder. And we got a good price play out of that. But I really need to get out of this habit of feeling guilty if I don't exactly make kickoff.
But you've always been like that. I remember years ago playing football away, we could be in a nice pub, having a great few beers, and you needed to drag us somewhere to watch West Brom against Watford or something, and no one else is interested. We're happy in the pub, and you have to go and make us stand outside to watch some nonsense. So it's always been there.
Speaking of watching nonsense, Ash, are there any thoughts you've got about the Premier League in general from since we last did a podcast, so a couple of weeks ago now?
Newcastle are really lucky. West Brom are beyond shit. And Man City, like we discussed before, are going to hack up. So, no, nothing's really changed that much.
When you say Newcastle are lucky?
I mean, look at their results. They're so fluky. They've done a double over Everton and only had about 3 shots.
They were the better team in that last game, though, I thought. Everton were just not even interested in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's something about Newcastle is they'll stay up without deserving to stay up. They've done nothing, right? But they'll get 38 points somehow.
The thing is, they have an expected goal of 22, and they've actually scored 22. So they're no longer overperforming on that front. And in terms of expected goals conceded, I think it's about 32, and they've actually conceded 36. So,
yeah, I mean, they are regressing back to where they should be in terms of the data now. I just feel like if Sheffield United had performed and Fulham had picked up the points they deserve this season, Newcastle would currently be 5-4 for relegation. Instead, they got that win against Everton just when they needed it, and they're now, 2-1 again.
So speaking of Newcastle, I think last time out, all three of us agreed on Newcastle +1 versus Arsenal, I think it was, which didn't come in for the podcast. We did have a good winner on West Brom to win. So my nap was West Brom to beat Wolves, which was 7.5, so 13-2. And that one in a really exciting game, which has taken me, and I am giving myself a pat on the back, but if you can't give yourself a pat on the back with 49.95% ROI in the Premier League this season, and that's from almost 50 points staked. So I've had almost 50 bets and the ROI is that high. And again, just 1x2 Asian markets and goal scorers. So markets where you can get a lot on. And Ash and Pete, your ratios are world class as well. Ash, I think you're at 32.39% ROI from 36 points staked. Pete staked the most out of us, 52, and he's on 17.12% ROI. So between the three of us, if you listen to this podcast, you're not making money, you're doing something wrong, or maybe you just don't like betting, but you like listening to football and you're interested, which is fine. If you don't already bet, please don't start. That's not our target audience. We just want to help people have more informed betting decisions if they do already bet. So we're on about £1,100 profit to £50 stakes for the listeners that have joined in. Hopefully we can increase that a little bit, and that's just from our podcast bets. If you actually followed every single bet we put on this spreadsheet, and you can go on @SaveThePunter on Twitter. That's @SaveThePunter, all one word, and you'll often see us advertise a Google Doc that lists all our bets. And unlike other so-called tipsters out there, we don't do our profit and loss ourselves. We let the public do it. So it's a fully editable document. The public can add their bets. They can scrutinise the spreadsheet to make sure that we haven't incorrectly put extra winners or losers on there. So you can rest assured that these are accurate figures. They're unheard of figures, and we are due to have a few stinking weeks. I keep saying that, but maybe this is the stinking week we're going to have after a few weeks off. Pete, I'm going to go to you first. What's your strongest bet of the week?
For my strongest bet, I quite like Liverpool versus Man City under 2.5 goals, to be honest. I think we've talked, certainly me and Ash have talked about backing Man City unders this season. And you just look at the fact that I think they've only conceded 2 goals in the last 12 games, Man City, averaging 0.4 expected goals against in that time. Liverpool looks like they're going to be without Mane. That's a big miss. Liverpool, I mean, they were getting, it was a bit of a weird run. I think they haven't scored in like 5 of the last 8 games, but they obviously were creating enough chances to score goals. But I just think I've always felt these games as well are very tight games. There's been a few where there's been a few goals or random. I remember goalkeeper coming out, being out of the goal, a couple of big Liverpool wins. But I've always felt they were tight games. And this one I expect as well. Liverpool won't want to lose the game. Alisson looks like he's going to be back. But Man City, even if they get 1-0 up these days, they're happy to take 1-0s, 2-0s. And they're so good at the back, it's going to be tough for Liverpool to get more than one goal. And at 2.32 for the under 2.5, I like that as a value.
I think if you look at the trends in Liverpool's last 10 against the top 4, 8 out of 10 have gone overs. And in City's last 10 against the top 4, 5 out of 10 have gone overs. So obviously quite a small sample size, but that's 20 games there. 13 out of 20 have gone overs. So you're getting what,
2.32.
Okay. Ash, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's about a quarter. Well, the goal line said 2.75, which I think is about a quarter of a goal wrong. So yeah, I do like the under 2.5. Both teams would be happy to get a draw here, to be honest. I think if you ask Man City now, take 1, or would they take it? Yes, of course they would. they've won the league. Take a draw here, it basically confirms it. You can hand the trophy out next week. Saying all of that, I do think Liverpool are a bet at +1.5. I mean, essentially you have a league of like 4 leagues. You have Man City out on their own, and then you have Liverpool, and then you have everyone else, and then you have West Brom. That's how the Premier League is this season. Liverpool aren't suddenly a bad team. Yeah, injuries have played their part, but getting half a goal at home, I like a bit of that. So unders, Liverpool plus half a goal, maybe a little play on 1-1 correct score.
Okay, so I've got the draw as being quite long odds. I reckon the draw is kind of 4-1 here for me. So that would slightly favour a bet on the overs more than the unders, because I think there's going to be goals in this game. I can't really. I think there's just about equal value on both teams to win. So I priced Liverpool at 3.33 and they're 3.6. I priced City at evens and they're 2.12. So there's about 8% and 6% of value respectively on either team to win. I had the draw at 4-1, so 5.0, but it's 3.8. So I've got the draw as a really bad value price. I'll tell you what, if you look at my pricing this week, I think either I've hit my head or I've missed too much football recently, because I've never had such a discrepancy on every single game with my odds compared to the market.
I would say, when was the last time a game between 2 big 6 clubs was actually any good? When was the last time they even went overs? I mean, we've had Arsenal, Man United 0-0, Man City, Liverpool earlier this season 1-1, Arsenal, Man City 1-1,
Man
Chelsea,
City, Man U was 0-0.
Man City, Man U 0-0, Liverpool, Man United was 0-0 as well, wasn't it?
Oh, hold on a second. Liverpool, Tottenham was only the other day. That was 3-1.
It wasn't a good game though. It was just Liverpool dominated the whole game.
There's 4 goals in the game. These games tend to go overs for Liverpool and City. So
I mean, it'd be good if it was a great game to watch. I think both teams will kind of half cancel each other out here. Liverpool paralysed by not wanting to lose, and Man City happy to, nick it 1-0 or again not lose. I mean, if Man City actually turned up and proper went for it, they could win this 5-6-0. I think they're that much better than Liverpool, but especially an injured Liverpool. But yeah, no, I'll chance my arm. Liverpool plus a half and the unders. I like the underplay here.
all right, well, let's have the unders as an official bet. I disagree with you both, but there's 2 of you both think it's a bet, so maybe let's have it as a 1.5 point bet then, since it sounds like you're both going to be betting on it.
Okay. Yeah.
Ash, what's your strongest bet of the card?
It's Everton +1 at Man United. Now, Everton are overperforming this season. They're about 8 to 9 points above expected points. However, Man United are also overperforming, and they're overperforming by 5 to 6 points. The thing with Man United is they're overperforming, and it's all down to Bruno overperforming. Now, this guy gets so many absolute fraud goals and assists. It's unbelievable. He is, and I can't believe the amount of praise he gets for frauding away. Like a hopeless long ball turns into an assist. Martial dives, he gets a penalty. More goals, stat padding. And I think Man United will regress quicker than Everton. In which case, getting a full goal does for me here. Like, I was expecting maybe 3/4 of a goal, maybe looking at it at half a goal was the right price. There's not too much difference between Man United and Everton in the grand scheme of things. And for me, I want to be on Everton +1 and a little bit of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, first goal scorer at 8.0.
Yeah, I've got this written down, penciled in as one of my bets. Definitely. I agree. I've not even been a big fan of Everton recently. I think, I don't think they're anywhere near as good as their league table suggests. But they're not a bad defensive team. And the way Man U play, like even when they're on that really good run, you look at all their expected goal ratio, shot ratios, they're all like 55%, which is nothing special. But they're just getting the goals. And they have got good attacking players, so you wouldn't even expect them to be above the sort of expected goals, the shots, whatever. But they were just so far above. You can't continue like that. And just the way that they were playing, it's like they're happy to just let the game sort of just go whichever way it wants, and then just hope they're going to come up with something special. And a lot of times they have, but you can't really bank on it. And even looking throughout the season, if I'm correct, it looks like they've only won by more than one goal 5 times this season. So to get the +1, I was a bit surprised when I saw it. Yes, I was a bit surprised. The only issue, even with the extra day's rest, I still think it is a good bet for Everton. Everton can keep it solid, and obviously they can still score. And it's just too short a price for Man U.
Yeah, I think we've got a full house here. I've actually bet on Everton to win. They're 6-1, which is, in my opinion, crazy. 6-1 implies they win this game 14 times if it's played 100 times. So between one and 2 times if it's played 10 times, and I don't think that's right. I think they win it a bit more than that. Only 8 points separate the teams in the league. It's 2nd v 6th. I don't think there's. I mean, I've talked about home advantage lots of times before since COVID. I think it's much diminished. The stats would probably agree with me. I think there was more away wins than home wins in a recent sample that everyone online seemed to be going on about. Man, you are overperforming on actual goals to expected, but so are Everton by about the same ratio. So I think there's overperformance on both teams there. I think Everton have scored 31 goals when they should have scored 25 according to XG. Man U have scored 46 when they should have scored 38. So percentage-wise, it's the same overachievement. And if you look on goals conceded, I think Man U have conceded about the amount of goals they should, and Everton have conceded about the amount of goals they should as well. But only 8 points separating the teams. I think this price is too big. I've had a play on the Everton straight win. I also make the draw value. So I priced up United at 2.5 and they're 1.55. So I think, I think Fernandes has had a great impact. However, a lot of he looks absolutely shattered recently. He looks absolutely shattered, like he needs a 2-game rest. Whenever Pogba plays, it completely unbalances the team. And I think Pogba will play because he didn't play in the last game. They had Fred and McTominay, who I think that's how they should start. Luke Shaw is showing a bit of consistency finally, but I don't bank on him to keep this up. I think Man United, their price is a little bit too heavily influenced by beating 10 men Southampton. When a team goes down to 10 men, if the other team are 11 players that are really fit, really mobile, try really hard and are really fast, of course you're going to get pummeled. I don't think a 10-man, say, Man City would have beaten Southampton by that many goals because they play a different style of football. Man U's style of football is to be really, really direct, and it's going to work brilliantly against 10 men, which is why they scored 9 goals or however many it was.
They played against 9 men for the last 4 minutes and scored 3 goals in that time. So, and Bert Bedenak, he's had his red card rescinded as well. So, I don't know why they done. So the David Luiz one didn't get rescinded, but that's another story. But the market's massively overreacted to that 9-0 win. I mean, Southampton were down to 10 men after 2 minutes?
Yeah.
And it kind of just fell apart, really, didn't it?
Do you think I've priced United too high at 2.5?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you can think that, but I've beat the market all season, and I think it's completely wrong.
I mean,
2.5 is
I-
ridiculous.
Well, you can say that. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Man United have got a 40% chance of winning the game. I think there's more chance it's a draw or an Everton win than a Man U win. And actually, I made the draw about. I made the draw and Everton win almost the same. Roughly a 30% chance of both happening. So I've got much bigger value on the straight win. So I don't know what we're going to do here. It sounds like we're putting maybe 1.5 on Everton +1. And I'd like to have half on the Everton win as well.
we could just go Everton draw no bet and go 2 points.
Yep. For the sake of ease, if you guys out there just want to have one bet, Everton draw no bet. What price is that? Just getting it up here now. I mean, Ash, you can't suggest a bet and not have the price ready.
I just look at Asian handicap prices. I mean, I've got the price I'd make it. I think it's going to be about what, 4 to 1, 3 to 1.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
It's 5.1. Unibet have got it at 5.1.
Wow. That's a huge price.
Let's do it. Draw no bet, 5.1. And I'll tell you what, lads, Unibet have got another huge price, and I'm going to go big on it live on the podcast right now. I'm putting an amount of money on Southampton to win. I don't know whether I should say the amount of money because I don't want to influence people to put too much on, but it's a 2-point bet for me on Southampton to win this game. And for me, it's the biggest value of the card this weekend. They are priced at 2.7 to beat Newcastle. I've got them at 1.75. So I make this about 54% value, which is huge. I've got Newcastle as terrible value. I've got Newcastle as 6.67. And I've got the draws probably about the right price. But I'm big on Southampton 2 points. Again, an overreaction to the 9-0 loss. The red card for the centre-back's been rescinded. Southampton have previously shown they can bounce back from bad results. They lost heavily to Leicester last season, but Hasenhüttl has a process. His players buy into it. They've not become a bad team overnight. You would not be getting 2.7 on Southampton if Newcastle hadn't picked up some points recently and Southampton hadn't been dicked. I know they're down to 12 points, they're on an 12th position. They're on an awful run of form. They're only 7 points ahead of Newcastle, but I think it's a good price. Pete?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. It was one of the ones I was monitoring. I was looking at the team news and injuries. I wasn't 100% sure. If you're saying Bednarek's back in, I think they've got Minamino in now, haven't they? He could play. You look at the starting lineup, and it's actually looking strong. I also agree about this. Like you saw when they lost 9-0 last year, they then went on a bit of a run. I'm not saying you should lose 9-0 every year, but I remember I remember watching ice hockey NHL playoffs like 2 years ago, and every team who lost by like more than 6 goals won the next game, and they were playing the same teams. So if you've got anything about you, you do bounce back on something like this, and I'd expect them to bounce back here. And yeah, I think they're a better team, and that's a good price. I was looking at the draw no bet, but yeah, I like both.
So Unibet, they've accepted a fifth of my stake, and the other 80%'s gone to the traders. This obviously isn't even my account, so it's to limit it and they've just changed the price. They've just changed the price as well. Ash, what do you think? Where's your money on this game?
So, obviously, we all know I think Southampton are better than Newcastle. I don't think that's up for debate. My way into this game, and it's kind of going back to, I've been off Shay Adams for a while now, but Shay Adams is generally 8.0, or sorry, 9.0, so 8 to 1 to score the first goal here. That's turning blue as I click a few buttons away here. But yeah, Shay Adams' first goal scorer is my bet. I think he's back in the Dura goal books. couldn't really put anyone off back in Southampton. But for me, I want to. I get annoyed with Newcastle and they just annoy me. So I'd rather just ignore that side of the bets and just back Shay Adams. And
that's a stupid reason to not bet on something because it annoys you.
I don't. Well, the thing is, I don't really make it like enough value for me because I still feel like I've kind of got historical Newcastle data priced into like my stuff. Is it like fraud data, like 2 seasons of just them frauding away, and it's still stuck in my model. And it's like I know that I should.
I'd suggest you need to change your model then.
Oh, the model's working, just not for Newcastle. So that's why I kind of try and stay away from him and look for other angles into the same kind of outcome. In which case it is if Southampton score goals, Shay Adams will get one of them.
Are we happy with 2 points on Southampton, lads? Don't get too excited, Pete.
No, I don't know. It's just I don't know. I'd still be a bit hesitant about the team that they could put out, but I don't know.
Let's go 1.5 points then, shall we? And we'll also bet on Shay Adams to score first. I think that's a great price at 8-1.
Yeah, I was running the stats the other day. I was looking at the fantasy, and he was popping off as someone who should score. I had him against Man U, and he scored what looked a good goal, and then all of a sudden it's not a goal.
He's back in my good books now, so I will be backing him. I don't even know when the game is, but I'll probably try and watch that.
So it's 8. The game's at 3:00 on Saturday. He's 8-1 with Sky Bet, so you can go each way. I've just placed a bet on that live as we speak. Pete, any other bets on the card?
Yes, I'm gonna go for Aston Villa on the draw no bet. It's a bit of a weird one because I do feel it's a good time to play Aston Villa. They sort of haven't looked as good in the last few games. I think they played well against Burnley. Certainly in the first half, they dominated, but ended up somehow losing the game. But then they nicked a win against Southampton, but then weren't particularly good yesterday. But the thing is, Arsenal with the two red cards, having the goalkeepers out, that other goalkeeper, the Icelandic guy's going to come in, who hasn't looked great. It's just a bit of a disruption for them. And even with the extra day's rest, I still expected Villa to be solid favourites. And when you combine the keeper being out, Louise is out, it's back-to-back away games, and some of that reduces the importance of the extra day's rest. And I still think Villa are a better team than Arsenal. And so to have Villa as only slight favourites, I think I've got draw no bet at 1.93 here. I think that's a bet. Arsenal don't create enough chances to really. So a draw is in play, but Arsenal still aren't creating enough chances. They smashed Newcastle and West Brom, who are the worst team in the league and the bottom 5 team in the league. Outside of that, they still haven't been great in a lot of the other games. So I'm still not sure where this Arsenal team's at. And to go away at Villa, I'll take Villa.
Yeah, I'm also a fan of backing Villa. Back them at 2.72 on Smarkets.
Oh, nice.
Ash, do we have a full house on Villa?
Yeah, once I update my numbers to take account of Arsenal's red cards and suspensions, I will be on Villa. I think I'd rather back them just to win than on the draw no bet, to be honest. But my best bet on this game is Ollie Watkins, first goal scorer. So when you add into Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Shay Adams, you have a 430-1 treble there. Have 50p on that. That'll be a week's wages in. He's due. These 3 players are due goals, and they're all going to come at once. So,
what are the odds on that?
430-1.
So who's it a week's wages for?
Yeah.
Well, they keep telling me 250 quid 200 quid is like the average wage in the UK a week, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't get out of bed for that, mate.
Right, most people do. This is why I work in wealth management.
Well, this is wealth management. Listen to this podcast, isn't it?
It's part of it. It's a diversified asset.
Well, have you got any other diversified assets for us this weekend?
Yeah, we have. We'll have Sheffield United +1 as well. How Sheffield United are +1 at home to Chelsea is a mystery to me. Chelsea haven't even looked very good since they sacked Lampard. And add on to that, Sheffield United won 5 of their last 7 games. They're underperforming by 10 points. Now, Chelsea are underperforming by 5 points. But Sheffield United have really got the bit between their teeth right now. McGoldrick's playing out of his skin for, I don't know how old he is now, 52. If Ramsdale stops making mistakes for one game, they'll get they can get themselves out of this.
He saved them the game against West Brom. You see that save he made?
Yeah, but it was his mistake in the first place.
He's good on a night out, I hear. Very good value on a night out. So I'd like to give him a pass for that reason.
Okay. No, do you know what? I like Sheffield United, and they, the manager's smiling again. They seem to be back to that team that frustrated and annoyed teams last season. They've got Brewster coming off the bench. He hasn't shown it yet, but he can nick a goal, and they're starting to play for each other again. That Ampadu's a player I like. He's sorted things out.
He won't be able to play though. He's a Chelsea player, isn't he?
Yeah, true. Phil Jagielka, when he played against Man United the other week, he was like the Jagielka of old. He was unbelievable.
See, this is funny, right? I agree with your bet wholeheartedly, but I disagree with almost everything you've said after the bet. Jagielka had a bang average game and made one slide tackle to block a fucking cross along the floor, and McManaman was jizzing all over him on BT Sport. Ampadu is suspended, so he can't even. Sorry, he's ineligible, so he can't even play. He won't be able to miss. They've got loads of players that can kind of.
They've got loads of system. Yeah.
Tuchel is probably a good manager that struggles with politics and managing big players, but I made Chelsea. I think I've hit my head because I priced Chelsea as odds against, which is mental, isn't it? But I really thought about this game long and hard, and I've bet on Sheffield United +1 at evens with Bet365. A few other bookmakers, it's evens on +1 as well, because I made Sheffield United 4-1. They're priced at something like 7.6. So I think Chelsea are going to win the game, but I think that at the price, I can't ignore Sheffield United. Why do you look confused, Pete?
Well, because you just said Chelsea should be odds against, but then you think they're going to win.
Yeah, but it's still the most likely outcome. It's still the most likely outcome. I've got Chelsea win at 2.27, the draw at 2.78, and Sheffield United at 5.0. So, what are you saying, Pete?
Yeah, I think the odds are about right. You could probably convince me Chelsea are a bit short, and they're not really looking like scoring enough goals to cover too many big handicaps. So I don't have an issue with the +1, and 2 days extra rest actually for Sheffield United. So I don't have an issue with the +1. Not something I'm dying to back, but I can see it. Chelsea, yeah, you're still not sure what you're going to get with them, to be honest.
I wouldn't be able to pick their starting 11, and I know other teams, even Sheffield United, they have some like-for-like players that can come in, but I feel Chelsea's replacements are often very different in style, so you never quite know how they're going to set up. You talk about them overperforming. They've scored 35. Their XG's 32. That's not underperforming.
Yeah.
In what way?
Performed, just expected goals, expected points. They've underperformed this season compared to the metrics, and a lot of that's to do with Timo Werner, who should have about 9 goals this season. He's got 4 or something.
I'm not seeing this. I've got them down as 32 XG, and they've scored 35.
What have you got as their XG against?
I've got their XG. They're underperforming. They've conceded 4 more than they should.
Yeah, see, that's
because they had a goalie who can't save anything.
Yeah, that doesn't help them, obviously. But I don't think Chelsea are bad. I still have them I wouldn't mind having a bet on to finish ahead of Man United if the price was right. But yeah, Sheffield United look like that team that's not going to get beat 6-0. They're back to that team that might lose 1-0. Keep it solid. We saw them against Man City. They were excellent. Well, excellent as far as teams with one win all season are. And yeah, I think you have to back Sheffield United here. I mean, if I was having an accumulator on Saturday or Sunday, you wouldn't be putting Chelsea in it, would you? That's probably the worst decision you can make all weekend, is putting Man United and Chelsea in accumulators.
So I think we're about to run out of time, lads. We've got quite a few bets. I'm going to update the spreadsheet, and listeners, if you're in doubt on our staking plan, because we might discuss it later tonight and finalise the staking plan, but you hear who we're backing. We're looking at backing Sheffield United, Southampton, unders in Liverpool City. We've got Che Adams, a bit of Ollie Watkins, Aston Villa. So there's plenty of bets to be had. We're going to put the full list on the spreadsheet. Any feedback, any questions, send them in at Save the Punter. Pete, Ash, thank you so much, gents.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See you later.